I'm getting good at the entry to the golf industry show here in 2018. We are at the 2018 Golf Industry Show in San Antonio, Texas. I'm Frank Rossi. I'm here at GCSAA TV Live, brought to you by Lebanon Turf. For those of you that can't be at the show, we've had quite a day here on this stage, very busy day. I'm almost talked out, Mr. Vaughn, golf course superintendent at Rolling Hills Country Club in Los Angeles. Tee-2-Green is part of the reason you're here. We're going to talk grasses. I had to catch up and look at some background. You moved an 18-hole golf course.
Yes.
I don't know if I want to ask why you moved an 18-hole golf course, because that could be a wormhole. Is it worth exploring why you moved it?
We had a 50-year lease that was ending in a couple years, and basically land swapped with a developer, took over an old gravel quarry. And the most interesting thing about the project was we moved 6 million yards of dirt in 6 months.
Yeah, a gravel quarry. You got good drainage.
Yes.
Huh. So, I thought I heard you say before we came on the air, 20 acres of bentgrass.
20 acres of bentgrass. All of it's mowed 180 or lower. 6 acres is putting green, but the putting green and the surround, exact same grass, soil, treatment, everything. The only difference is the height of cut.
Fairways?
Fairways are Bandera, Bermuda, and that's 75 acres of fairway.
So the 20 acres are the greens complexes?
Yes.
Okay. Bentgrass all the way out to into the bunkers, like
Yes.
Gil Hance design.
Yeah, this is a David Kidd design.
It's
so
a David Kidd design.
Similar concept.
A lot of options around the greens.
Yes.
Okay. So, Tee-2-Green, we're obviously going to talk about bentgrass. Which one did you choose, and why did you choose it?
So we ended up going with Pure Distinction bentgrass. 2 years prior, we did 20 different trials where we took this grass, and then overlapped. This grass, and overlapped. So we had overlaps of about 20 different...
Two-way mixes?
Yes, mainly two-way mixes. The big worry became if we have 6 acres of putting green, 14 acres of putting green surround, that is putting green, if one overtakes the other, and then you have this real distinction. Yeah. So we ended up looking for one particular grass. We took a trip to Jeff Marco's course up in Monterey, and after the round of golf, he's like, hey, just take a look at this. Walked to the green, looked at the green, instantaneously, me and the architect picked that grass.
Pure distinction.
It looked that good.
How old was it?
At that point, it was 3 months old.
It's pretty young.
Yes.
Because one of the things we see in a lot of the bentgrass work, at least in the Midwest and in the East, is bentgrasses have a tendency to segregate.
Yes.
Back to the parental material, which
yes.
takes a little time to happen. But apparently, from what Dan Donnelly, my pal at North Shore Country Club in Chicago, says, is this particular grass does not segregate very well. That doesn't segregate at all. I mean, that would be a desirable thing. Pure Distinction, I'm assuming, is where the name came from. How does it's a modern bentgrass. Is it a high shoot density grass like the A's and G's?
So the one thing we learned real quick was the first couple greens we did 1.5 pounds per thousand.
On the, we'd say 2 would be max, but 1.5 is good.
But everyone's used to that 1 to 2 range, and it was so thick and so dense we had a hard time growing it in.
No kidding.
And then we went to 1 pound. We finally got down to 3/4 of a pound per thousand as our growing for the last 9 holes, because it germinated so fast and so quick that by the time it was at full maturity, I have pictures where we verticut grass this high in a big giant pile off the side of the green.
Have you grown bentgrass in before? Is this your first effort in growing something in?
No, I've done a couple nursery greens here and there, and we did, I can't even remember what it was at Buenaventura. I think it was A1, A4, which did really bad.
So, because when I hear you say, boy, it germinated really quickly, it's obviously you're comparing it to sort of your experience with other bentgrasses to a certain extent. And you said you played around for a little while with these bents, right?
Yes.
Planting them over each other, looking at them for periods of time. You looked at a grass that was 3 months old after doing all this research and making a decision on the spot. What was it?
The uniformity and the fact that it was a single seed of grass. So from corner to corner, it looked identical. We obviously talked for an hour about, the germination was 4 days. The nitrogen rates, the disease rates, every single grass that we tried in our trials, there was something wrong with it. Either it was really mottled looking because it was a three-way blend, or we ended up growing it in, loving it, and then it just got devastated by snow mold. So there was something with every single grass that we didn't like, and then the hard part was going to my board and saying, hey, we did 2 years of trials, we were ready to go, we pulled the trigger on this grass, but now I'm going to switch to this one that we never tried.
Yowza.
I took 3 of my board members to Monterey Peninsula Country Club that had just finished, and after the first green, they're like, yeah, we agree, let's go home.
And I got to believe bentgrass in the Monterey Peninsula is a bit of a risk. That looks like pole country to me to a certain extent. Is there some idea that pure distinction, when I don't know the superintendent that you're talking about that had it there, but obviously in 3 months you're not going to see much POA invasion.
No. And I mean, our greens are, the first set is 15 months old. We have yet to pull a POA blade out of any of the 20 acres of bentgrass.
Nobody's playing on them yet.
Oh, no, we
They're playing on them.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the growing. You decided on the grass, but what I remember from the years when the golf boom, when they were building golf courses every day, high seed rates, high end rates, and not enough sand sometimes.
Yes.
Did you find something from, your growing in of other nurseries and other bents? Did you find some grow-in strategy that you'd recommend to other people that might be interested in planting pure distinction? Because in my opinion, you could have a good grass. You don't grow it in right, you're going to deal with those problems in perpetuity until you have to do something drastic. So tell me about the growing.
So a couple other guys came by, and we obviously walked the course, and there's a couple of renovations going on in LA. The piece of advice I gave to everybody was, don't go on pounds, go on seed count. So like that pure distinction was, and I might be wrong here, I think it was 8 million seeds per pound, which compared to the older ones, when you get to 3/4 a pound, it's about the same seed count. The other thing was, we ended up going a pound of nitrogen a week for the first 10 weeks.
Whoa, that's the old double eagle Terry Buchan plan.
Until we had full coverage, and then it was turned off. But we also top dressed every week, heavily by hand, and at about the 3-month mark, we were already verticutting.
How's your profile?
We've probably added 1/2 inch to the...
In 15 months?
Yes. Now, the greens are not USGA, they are 18 inches of sand that we found on site above drains. So the hard part was matching this native sand that we had in the old gravel quarry.
Top dressing sand.
Yes, with the top dressing sand. So.
And you didn't have a local source, I mean, you didn't have an on-site source for your top dressing sand, or you couldn't use the root zone material to top dress with.
Because they're building 114 homes, so we didn't have any room to stockpile a 5-year supply of sand, because when you're in an expensive part of LA, that stockpile site represents a $2 million home lot.
Yeah, expensive part of LA, that sounds a little redundant to me. Is there an inexpensive part of LA that they have golf courses?
No.
There you go.
No.
So what about the growing process? You had that's pretty aggressive nitrogen.
Yes.
Obviously in Southern California, you're having to deal with the water. How's your water quality?
Very high in bicarbonates, but other than that, we're lucky in that we have a well.
So how long till you were playing on it from when you planted it?
The last set was, October, November to 14 weeks, 15 weeks.
No kidding.
Yes.
So you were playing on these greens essentially in less than 4 months from them being seeded.
It was 102 days, put it that way.
102 days.
Yes.
Looking back, you like the grass, you're solid with the growing. What would you do different?
One of the pieces of advice I got from the Tee-2-Green guy was beat him up and beat him up early. And I didn't understand it. I didn't like it just was weird to me. So we were.
Well, it's counterintuitive.
Yes.
You're trying to grow it in and he's telling you to shred it. That's
Yes.
almost like Bermuda grass language.
So the day we started brushing, they got a lot better. The day we basically were doing anything we could to mimic 150 golfers a day, and as they pointed out, the bent grass doesn't turn into a green until it's being beaten up like a green.
Yeah, it's got to get firm, right? I mean, it takes greens, and even a sand root zone. Now, the sand you used, it didn't meet USGA specifications?
It depends which green it was. Some of it was slightly finer, some of it was slightly coarser. The biggest problem with our sand mix is where you want 80%, 20%. We were like 20%, 20%. You know, during the gradation of the granular size, we were way too evenly
even uniform distribution, right? The particle sizes were too narrow, which make them a little bit beach sand-like, right? They're shifty.
Yes, and that was our problem.
So I'm assuming, though, and this is what we know, over time, the top dressing sand starts to dominate. If you've already got a ½ inch, you're starting to get that firmness back?
Yes. And we're going to dry jet here next month because we got a Pac-12 men's championship. And the only thing I think isn't where I want it to be is the firmness, but that's because of the sand.
Well, and I'd say it's because they're young. I mean, you've been in this business long enough to know, I guess, like I do, those things take a while sometimes to firm up. I mean, I like to say I don't think the green's really mature for 3 to 5 years. I think you got to get that sort of matte layer, but the aggressiveness with which you grew these in, I wonder, that organic layer is probably building up pretty good already.
Well, and that's the other problem with our greens were our soil was primarily from like 80 feet underground. That's where we found our sand. They dug some holes that were 250 feet deep, but with that sand, we were at 0.05% organic matter. And literally nothing in the soil at all. I mean, I got every soil test you could ever imagine. So our biggest problem actually has been trying to build up that matte layer and organic layer to get to kind of a natural biological.
So you talked about the depth at 18 inches.
Yes.
Did you alter the depths of the green? Obviously, a coarser sand green, you probably maybe want a little shallower, and a finer sand green a little bit deeper. Did you play those kinds of games?
No. I mean, we tested every sand. We fell within a very close range to USGA. But because a truck might come from over here and a truck might come from over here, we couldn't test every single truckload. And when you're moving 6 million yards of dirt, you don't really have time. Yeah, you don't have time to test every single truck.
Do I want to ask how many trucks?
It was 36,000 loads of the scrapers. I don't know if you've ever seen the scrapers. 36,000 trips of that.
36,000.
Yes.
Okay. So, they're playing on them. Are they complaining about the firmness?
No, not at all.
How about the roll?
No. I mean, it's been, since we started with the brushing and with the heavy rolling and everything else, you know, we're 6 months old now on our newest set. We're averaging 11.5 probably every day.
We're not shilling for brush companies here. We're talking about Tee-2-Green for a second. Is it Chip Howard's transformer brushes?
Yes.
And I got to say, Chip developed them in the desert. And in dry climates, I think bentgrasses respond dramatically to brushing. Is this your first attempt at brushing?
Oh, yeah,
and would you say if a person's going to plant a bentgrass nowadays, brushing is key?
Yes. I mean, the funny part was Lou with Tee-2-Green kept asking me, are you brushing? Yes, I'm brushing, I'm brushing, I'm brushing. Yes,
so they're recommending it as seed companies.
I don't know the seed company, but Lou, as someone who became a good friend of mine, was recommending it. So he finally goes, well, let me see your brushes. We go downstairs and the brushes look like bristles really far spaced apart. And he goes, that's not a brush. We brought up Chip's website and I go, oh, that's a brush.
That's a brush. Well, it's an engineered brush. I mean, Chip enginered these brushes to do what he does. He's here today too. And he didn't pay for this ad we're giving him here. No. So we're going to wrap it up. See how quick 15 minutes go. You wouldn't believe it. Looking forward, do you have a course of action to manage these greens that you want to make sure you avoid certain things, right? I mean, obviously, growing in it aggressively, you're not giving it that kind of end now.
No, and that's what I'm trying to do. Right now, I'm at 1/10 of a pound a month of nitrogen, but I'm still getting too much clipping. So I'm trying to figure out how lean I can go, which obviously then I lose color, which is how much iron can I go. And it's obviously a balancing game. You don't want to develop certain programs, but that's what I'm trying to do right now is figure out with my sand, with the organic matter that I have, with all the parameters that I have, what my program is. And you and I talked once about a program I'm trying to do, which is going to take another 2 hours to discuss.
Yeah, we're not going to do it here because he's giving me the wrap it up sign.
So my main goal right now is to figure out simply what our program is with the soils and bentgrass that we have.
You know what aggravates me? Why did we wait all day to talk about grass? I've been waiting to talk about grass all day. I've been talking about everything but grass. It's so pleasure meeting
Nice
you,
meeting
Bob,
you.
and we'll have some more conversations about your aerification. In the meantime, I will wrap it up for the day here on GCSAA TV Live, brought to you by Lebanon Turf. You can hopefully join us tomorrow where we're going to have more dogs on stage. I don't know if we're going to have birds like we had today, but we're always up for wild animals on this stage, and hopefully more grass conversations. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll be back tomorrow.